Improvement to the Times by Joseph Scaliger, Book 1, Chapter 7, concerning Attican months. Before the Greek year, particularly in Attica, the method we uncovered, for those not asleep, has the distinct smell of Gaza, whose merits can be called into doubt, or rather his grasp on the correct order of the Attican months that the highly educated Gaza himself produced. First of all, indeed it is all wrong, that the very multiple wreathings themselves attempt to persuade us. Anthesterion would have to be the second autumn month, as Maimakterion is the first of the same quarter of autumn. Both are truly wrong, in which Anthesterion is the second quarter of autumn and Maimakterion is the first, as established by the writings of the ancient authors. For concerning Anthesterion, many are opposed to the same. But before we talk about Anthesterion and postulate its position, we say how many Dionysia there are in Athens, because to this matter there is a certain amount, and the reader can impose the rules. Therefore it is triple for the liberal Athens. First, the month of Posidion, which dictates Dionysia kat agros, or alternity, linea. Second, Dionysia te kat asti, the month of Elaphebolion. Hesychius, Dionysia hiero te Athenaeus, e Dionysio igeto ta men kat agros minos Posidion, ta de palia linionos, ta de enasti menos Elaphebolianos. So Thucydides writes, Ote e sponde igonto teliotuntos tu himunos ama iri ek Dionysion ethos tu astikon autodeca iton dielphonton ke himera oligon pereneghuson plistola spartis iphorentventos artemisia tetradi thinentos alkeu de Athenaeus archontos elaphambolias hecte thinontos. This is clearly the opinion of Seneca in this anapestic verse. Nos cadmius ogria fere, tectum soleta condita cistas, cum iam pulsa sedere brume, tertia soles evoca estes, et spica fera conceste dia. Attica mista claudet Elusian, who noted the season is near the end of winter, in addition to Tritirica, which is said to be the smaller mystery. In fact, the greater mystery is the Pentaeteride, from that same Seneca's furious Hercules. Quantus elium coit ad tantatem, quinta cum sacram revocavit astas, quanta cum longe redit ora noctis, crescere et somnos cupiens quietos. Libra frebios tenent aqua cures, turba secretum cerium frequentant, et cites tectis properentes relictis, Attici noctum celebrate mista. In Hippolytus, iam quota Elusium dona Triptoleme sicat, paremque totius libra composituit diem. Of course, there was T. Ectati Boedromias, after celebrating the sidereal autumn equinox. It returns 5 years later. Galen said, Peritutis elatis spermatos, hostes kieros en Roma men o Caliomenus min septembros estin. In Pergamo de par himun hyperbreteos, Athenesi de mysterie. Philostratus 5:56, concerning the province of Attica. Geogreos te passens mestin inia ke oran, oe tis Atticis, e metopore te kai mysterioptas. Mysterioptas, mysteriotidas hores, is called the autumn season. In Book 4:46, este ton peria, espluse peri mysterion horan hate Athenese polyanthrop otata elienon pretuse, etc. Afterwards, hon home gemni eth erentu, kaiartu metoporon ephilion tus Athenianos, etc. Later, minse de me o diena, prognose chromenos eston met echinion hierophanten, hos metatetare hecte tu illyrio prusti. In the same year, following the spring, epiplexi de legete pere Dionysion Athenaeus Hippolyte sthinin en ora tu anthesterianos. Third, Dionysia said anthesteria. Without that proverb, thiraxe, kairis, ut te anthesteria, Hesychius. Anthesteria Dionysia. These are pertinent to the matter, so evidently said, because it starts anthesterion, and as they say, Dionysia te archaea, as in Dionysiae te en limnias. In Thucydides' Book 2, tayar hyria en uti ti acropoli ke alon theon esti ke te exo pros tantu tu meros tis polios melon hesita tu te tu dios Olympio ke tu Pythion ke tu tis gies ke tu en limnias Dionysia hote archaeotera Dionysian tin dudeca pioete en mene anthesteriani. There's also Demosthenes teaching about the annual period. Catanierias, que dia tantu en tu archaeotatu, hirio tu Dionysia en limnias estisan, hiran mi poli idosi ti gegramena. Apax yar tu enia tu ekastu enio gete tis dodeca tu anthesterion menos. Tu dodecate tu anthesterianos menos. Therefore, this anthesterion, which by the Dionysius anthesterion speech, they were unfamiliar with the autumn, where Gaza placed it. Neither is it, why Philostratus is so unfair, when anthesterion is seen, spring is postponed. Nor is it only Philostratus who wrote this. Appian writes the same with the dictator Caesar, saying, menos anthesterianos, to the conspirators' faction in the Senate, and the oppression came to an end. Also, in Plutarch's extremely important composition, he exposes, who in Athens was captured by Sulla in the month of March, which is during the month of Anthesteriana, the Athenians say. It is also the same with the writings of Symposiac, who clearly states that he may allow Gaza's change. Kai men onan yinion hoi proiatata pinotes anthesteriani pinose mene mete himuno. Kai te himera enianin himeris mes agotho diamenos. Athenae de Pythogian kalosi. The month Anthesteriana meta himuna is not placed before winter as Gaza. With the other months from Posidian to Gamilion, Gaza therefore must surely place it third after Posidian, as Anthesterion is eighth from Hekatombaion. Harpocrates. Anthesterion ogdos men ot par Athenaeus hirios Dionysu. Isteros de en tos tis synagogis keklisthi phisen autun dia tu pleista tu en yes enthien tote. No Gaza indeed, if revived, could doubt the month of Anthesterion was in spring. Demosthenes. Peristephanu. Epihirias clinagoris Arianes filias idoxi tos Pelagorias. Demosthenes submits. Lege di su chronos en os tantu igeneto. Chrone archon Minthidides menos anthesterianos ecta epe decati. You see, Eronon Pilian is the month Anthesterion, which it cannot be unless Anthesterion had been Arion Min. There is one place produced which all will be able to value. In the year 465 of Nabonassar, 29th day of Hathor, Anthesterianos Ogdani, which is the Callipic Anthesterion. Democritus induced from observation the half-moon in the middle of Pleiades. The time aligns with the 29th of January. Therefore, the new moon of the Anthesterion in the Callipic year falls on 23rd January, and the following year after Anacalary occurs on the 10th of February. But why do we turn our backs on it? The year he turned 47 was in the first Callipic period, in which Hekatombaion started on the 30th of June, lunar cycle 3. From its start to the 23rd January, there are precisely 206 days, which is 7 syzygies. Therefore, Anthesterion is 8 syzygies from Hekatombaion, and accordingly the second month of winter. In Athenaeus' book 8, Anthesteriona και Elephamboliana are connected. Kateteton Anthesteriana και Elephamboliana legusin ho epihorios ho apopempi bolin tin apopirin olintho. Therefore expunging Anthesterion from autumn, which Gaza himself moved, otherwise a great man. I was nearly persuaded to place Maimakterion before Boedromion. From Gaza, the fourth from Hekatombaion is Maimakterion, Pyanepsion fifth, and Anthesterion sixth. But as this deeply neglects, done first by Plutarch, who in Caesar wrote Poceidion is January, which is confirmed by the words of Anacreontis of Ustathi. Mios mendi Poceidion hestiki, nithele de hidati varinunte, agrie de humones patagosi. This kind of storm in Greece doesn't occur until after the winter solstice. Also, Plutarch's Periisidos asserts Pyanepsion is the Augustinian month of Hathor, which is November. And Demosthenes, these months continue. Metageitniona, Boedromiona, Pyanepsiona, min. He says, Peripolen chronon apelenthe tis patridos, katathun ala taxitun ellenikon pragmaton syndriventon, Metageitnion men peri chronoe mehi syneptise. Boedromionos de parielthen is munihayan frora. Pyanepsion de Demosthenes apethene. For if Poceidion is January, as indeed Poceidion always begins after the winter solstice, while Pyanepsion is November, it makes sense that December would be the same month as Maimakterion. I do not see it. For between Pyanepsion και tropos himerios, which is between Pyanepsion και Poseidiana, another interval of space is hinted at by Theophrastes' Perikokimileos Egyptias discussion, and it is not possible to know more. Archete de Othenin minus Pyanepsionos, ton de kero pepaene peri tropas himerianas. Sensibly, between Anthesin και Pipansin, conceding all the months, that is, between Pyanepsion and Poceidion. And which months would intervene besides Maimakterion? Also, the same Plutarch calls Pyanepsion sporimon minna, around the inclusion of Pleiades, which is supported by Aristophanes' interpretation, in which he says about the rural areas of Attica Timproirosion Thysion in that month, the traditional sacrifice. If Pyanepsion is before plowing and sowing begins, it is obvious this month is far from December and aligns with November. Diodorus Siculus' Book 3 connects these two months, Maimakterion and Poceidion. Apoiarmenos ho kalusin Athenae Maimakterione, tun epta tun kata tin arcton esteron udena thesan horas the meri tin proteins phylakis. Today Poseidione meri deuteras. However, is there still doubt? As Hippocrates writes, Maimakterion o pemptos min par Athenaeus. If Boedromion is third from Hekatombaion, Poseidon, moreover, sixth, fourth between Boedromion and Maimakterion is Pyanepsion. And if anyone who thinks the scribe made an error, Hippocrates adds, onam asti de apo dios Maimaktu. Maimaktis de esten o enthosiodis, que teraktikos hos phise nisi mehadis, en tu peri tun Athenesi minon. Arcende lemvanontos tu himonos en tuto tu mini, o eri tartatete ke metobolain hehi. Autumn is cast before the commencement of winter, making it Maimakterion, which by Gaza its place is contributed to Pyanepsion. Likewise, Demosthenes, Olinthiac, 3, tote toenin min in Maimakterion. Ulpianus, in his place, Himerios otos o min, etc. But it is because the name of men of authority expressed by barely human men and also the educated that this era by Gaza is revealed. Unless they discard their bodily riches, Timocraeus, therefore, in the Ptolemy year Nabonassar 466, which it was Callipi 48, Thoth 7, Pyanepsion stigma telia tutus, and observed the moon in conjunction with the year of Virgo. The time fits the 8th of November. Accordingly, the Pyanepsion new moon was Callipic October 16. Hekatombaion, however, begins their year on the 19th of July. From 19th July to 16th October, there are 90 days, which is composed from the 3 previous Callipic months and the start of the 4th month. For 89 days are 3 lunar months, and the new moon at the beginning of the 4th makes 90 days. Therefore, the new moon of Pyanepsion is a quarter from the new moon of Hekatombaion. Therefore, preceding Maimakterion is Pyanepsion, and preceding Posειδεών is Maimakterion. Posειδεών precedes Gamilion, and Anthesterion precedes Gamilion. The order of the remaining months is saved by Gaza, and it is not an arduous task to construct it from the testimony of one or another ancient Greek. So Attican separated the quadrants of the year into months of the seasons. Wrongly, therefore, the months of autumn and winter were divided by Gaza, which can be seen in this monthly register. The parts of the year are explained above. As to the total itself, we come, that is, to the year. The two at the top dispute each other, the equation and the division of the period. The equation in this business the Greeks call prosphαθέρεσιν, the composed saying, entis prostesios ke aphairesios, whose elegant words are disseminated among Aristotle's Economics 1. Dioper de poisthe skipsin ke diamien te, ke anthente kat axio hekasta ke trophin ke estheta, ke agredi ke koleses, logo ke ergo mimumenos, tin iatron dynamin en pharmakou logo pros thevruntas. It is fully written pros tha theutas, not pros theurotas. Therefore, prosthesis is a day or month in an Attican year. Their days, which they often say hypervalutse ke anarchos, now remind us. The month, which Emvolimun is named, Aphairises, is different by 1 day, in the 4th year of the Tetraeteroid, or at most 2 days, as Cicero teaches. Diodorus of Sicily. Involismo ke aphairiseos, in Greek, which are 2 parts of the equation in the Greek year, so mentioned from Theban of Egypt, saying, Embolimos de minas oct agusin od himeras hypherusi kathaper oi pliesti te elinun. Thus, embolismo menos and hypheresis himeras are part of the equation of time in Greek civilization. The equation, therefore, has 3 parts: hypervaluse, or anarchenihimeras, embolimos min kai exaeresis. That is, a hypervaluse rejects the conclusion of the year, and reason itself postulates, and the ancient writings of Gylippicus among Macrobius teaches, which we will briefly touch upon. But Macrobius was his own witness, which produced a misunderstanding, as he could not see what hypervaluse ke hypervenuse numera meant. Caught in the beginning of the Attica period, one can easily find the year's end, and in which season it is, its locations drawn back. The above two are peri embolismu ke exeiraseos, but it is known that the embolism and the excise are attributed to the same month, or indeed, they are different months. There are three words that are commonly confusing: embolimos, emvolimaos, emvolismos. The months or the days that intercalate, emvolimos, as our leap year is emvolimos numera. The year which coincides with intercalation, emvolimaios. The thing itself, the act, emvolismos, emvolimos min, in Athens is Poseidon. Ptolemy teaches us that in the year 367 of Nabonassar, Thoth, Iotostigma, Archontos, Athenaeus, Evandros, Minos, Posidionos, Protiru. He wrote the moon fell short. Therefore, embolismos falls in this year, which from there he says itos emvolimaion, and the month emvolimos, the previous Metonic Posidion. For all just and legitimate intercalations, from the names of the 2 months, this is emvolimos, which previously occurred. As among the Hebrews, the intercalary year of 2nd Adar, that first Adar is normal, that second is where Esther observed fasting at Lent. What if the Metonic Posidion is intercalary, and therefore the tetraeteride? However, the subsequent Attican month list is compared with the new moons. That peri emvolismu, envolimu, involamau is said to be the same peri exeiraseos, exeiraseumu, exeiraseumeu, exeirasimus numera, as the days removed. Exeiraemios min, the month, which indicates it is exaerisis. Therefore, the Athenian exaerisimios is Boedromion. Plutarch's Symposicon Theta, Part 6. Kaio Ilias, hus per Hithion genomenos eniino de se amin o menaphile lelithen hop ke tin deuteron Boedromionos himere exerikamen ho pros tin selenian ala hop ta tin dokusen irese peri tis horas o theo. But the cause of exeiraseos, however ridiculous, is totally false. He adds this day's exaerisithae is not caused by the moon, as the name suggests, that the year is in harmony with the moon, but due to mythology, which indeed, if true, is a fabulous realization. Moreover, if false, that is the same as talking about the dead and tu peri Philadelphias, or tin deuteron tu Boedromionos, i.e., exeirisitheae. For it is not ai, but only once in the tetraeteride. These are his words: Athenaeus de ton pere tis eridos tus theon methon, atopos placetes, epanorthoma tis atopias o phelon enemixon autu. Tinia deuteron exeerusin eion ton Boedrominos, hus en akini tu Posidoni pros tin Atheno genomenes tis diaphorias. It follows from this reckoning exeirisimon projects, which is mia ton apophradun, which themselves are really opposites. Still we bless them, who indicate the month exeirisibion is recognized, where the 4th year of the tetraeteride for deutera Boedrominos, they say triti estamenu. How our computations explain why the moon hides one day, which they call the leap moon. To Greek mathematicians, hypotomon selenius. But why is the last month preferably not removed? Because the Attican months, with all having trichonthemerae, are divided into 3 decadas. The first decade returns kat exierison. It is enumerated decata, enati, egthin, evdomi, hecti, teletuntos, which if the last is exempted, in what manner can 21 days be called decati thenotos? In addition, what Anacreontia was sacred? For the same, protin istamenu is removed, because all first days are ke hieraminiae, they are sacred. And so from the second day to the third they say, nothing seen in the month is removed, because if the month is 30 days, the days appear to be whole. With trichas ke Anacreontia not being there, why the month of Boedromion rather than another, exaeresis, was done. Indeed, Plutarch thinks it comes from the mythological claim of contentions between Minerva and Neptune from Attican vindications. However, exaerison should not be used due to the month, and I firmly deny it, and therefore utterly reject it. But I put it to you that Plutarch himself is impertinently ignorant of these tidbits of knowledge. For as we have said, in one tetraeteride, that is, in 1,448 days, or if an intercalary month is inserted in 1,478 days, one day must be removed and the year returns to alignment with the moon, as that first day of the tetraeteride should always start on the new moon. But in 76 years it becomes necessary to sometimes remove 2 days from the tetraeteride instead of just 1. In fact, it proudly occurs 4 times in those 76 years, which we now demonstrate, and the place is clearly witnessed by Cicero of Vero. But I regard Plutarch's opinion. When there is exaeresis, it always happens on tendutera Boedrominos, and no other month, in the 4th year of the tetraeteride. Therefore, Plutarch's Battle of Plataea, which certainly occurred in the 4th year of the Attican tetraeteride, as shown elsewhere, preserves the 4th of Boedromion in Aristotle. In Camillo, however, on the 3rd. Both are correct because politikos is tetras, but is really triti. The nearest tin exaerison. Yet there is another reason for the exaeresimon numeron in the lunar year. For in the 4th year there was 1 or at most 2 exaereses. In the lunar year always 6. For with the lunar months alternating full and hollow, they also all had trichada, and therefore alternating days were removed, that the second of the second month is not always called deutera, but triti, and the same in other cases. Aristotle's Second Economics, concerning the tyrant Menon of Lampsacus, tous te stratiomenon perivrito tas setarches, ke tous misthos ex ΧΕΙΜΕΡΙΝΟΙ tun eniatu. Fescon tautis tas himerias ot philakien otus, odemion ote poriedu, ote vapandi poisthe tas exaeresimenos legon. Lampsacus, however, was merely lunar, whose equal months, whatever cautions are taken, were also thought to be trichonthemerae. That is, they had trichada. The soldiers are paid for a month, accepted to be 30 days, even in the shorter months. But the sly tyrant in shorter months had the rational tis exaerios. That, and subsequently declared, donte protu chronon, didus, tios, stratio tis ten deutera tis numenias tas setarchias, tu men protu mine barivi treis himeras. Tun de exomenu pente, tun tan de propan proigian ios is tis trichada hilthi. Previously, he said he was used to giving on the next day after the first of the month, but with the observation of exaeresis, the second day of the month is the 3rd. Without the second, there were only 29 days. Then, as he was made ferocious, he instituted another order. In the first month, the duration was off 27 days as measured against the solar year, the second 25 days, and so on in this way. 27, 25, 22, 20, 17, 15, 12, 10, 7, 5, 2, 0. So the month gained days. Clearly, this is Aristotle's place.